Have you ever wondered why AI, which is the biggest tech advancement since the internet itself, is accessed through a chat window that is straight out of 2002? Today, I want to break down how people will interact with AI long term and how entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurial minded can take advantage of that shift so that they don't get left behind. Because I feel like every day there's a new post on socials about how, X AI company killed my product with a single update. So, what do you think?
Personally, I will celebrate the death of the chatbot. It is not the ideal interface. It is a way to kind of quickly interact with it, but when we think about everything AI can do, it does not need to be in a chatbot format. And I hope the new interfaces that we're going to talk about come soon because I think everyone's going to get trained on the chatbot pretty quickly.
I don't want people to get too attached to the chat room style interaction because I think it's going to shift. And when it does, it will be better than we can ever imagine. So, getting right to it, the ideal interface for artificial intelligence is extended reality. It is augmented, mixed, maybe virtual reality interfaces. And AI won't be a thing that you go to like we do now. You open up ChatGPT. It will just be embedded in the thing that you're using. And the best place to have that is on your face, in your field of view. And I want you to think of it as less Jarvis from Iron Man and more Edith from Spider-Man.
I love that.
I don't know if I'm going to lose people with that comparison.
Not a sample size of one over here.
Yeah. Those of us who visit the MCU will understand. And I think the reason for this is twofold. One, utility, ease of use. If it's in glasses, it's on your face, you can talk to it, you can get instant feedback, you can see the results like right there. With how much we want to use AI, it needs to be as accessible as possible. The second reason is a little bit more nefarious, and that is for AI to be effective to the level that most people want to use it. It needs to train on data that you, the individual, are generating. So this is your behaviors, your preferences, your biometrics, your tasks, goals, patterns, habits, all of that. And how does the AI get its hands on that data? Probably from wearables like fitness trackers and from smart glasses, which are loaded up with all kinds of cameras and sensors. And if that concept makes your skin crawl and is giving you like Black Mirror kind of flashbacks, just remember how creeped out people were by Apple Watches when they first came out and Fitbits in the beginning. Like now people are lining up to pay $600 for something that tracks all of your biometrics. And, it should probably be regulated, but different topic, different day.
Yeah, the privacy considerations deserve their own video. Today, I am excited to talk about why we think these technologies, these being XR and AI, are better together and what that means for the industries, not just the ones that we and our customers operate in, so aerospace, manufacturing, defense, but others as well. Before we talk about the real use cases, like how is XR the ideal interface, I think the key to understanding where this works and where it doesn't, like what the right use cases are, has to take into account more of X paradox, which we talked about on our last podcast. But as a brief reminder, this principle states that the tasks that require complex social motor skills are really difficult for machines, but tasks that involve data processing and math are a breeze for machines, aka AI. So this kind of fundamental truth is what should direct us towards use cases for AI through an XR interface where it can be the strongest and the most useful, separating and allowing humans to focus on the skills that are more uniquely ours. We did get into this more in our other podcast episode. From a business perspective, like if you were to apply that logic in a use case, it would dictate you don't want to delegate your customer service to AI, right? You want to protect the human element of that, but you would want to delegate analyzing the data gathered from those customers to learn how to make your data service processes or your customer service processes more efficient. So I think with that, we should jump into some real world applications. So where is an application where you see XR and AI working together to do more than either technology could do by itself?
The first one that comes to mind is something that is a passion of mine and a little bit of the tech that we've already been working on, and that is travel use cases for translation and navigation. In this case, we might have an AI guide that overlays contextual information on landmarks, gives you, how to navigate around a city, maybe gives you safety tips, recommendations for food or attractions based on your preferences. One of the things already kind of been working on in this area is AI translation. So in addition to being able to help you navigate around, it can either give you information on what people are saying in your native language or help you communicate with someone in the language of the place that you're visiting. Some niche ideas around this are a cultural concierge, which is like real-time etiquette tips, translation, geo-awareness. This has implications for solo traveler safety. It's been a while since I've solo traveled anywhere, but something like this would have been great. Kind of gives you a little bit extra peace of mind, helps you feel more confident about where you're going and all of that. And then an adventure tracker, which would be something that brings in that fitness data, looks at your fitness level and capabilities, and can maybe suggest hiking routes or more adventurous activities that match your fitness and athletic capabilities. Because I don't know about you, but I have definitely gone on some hikes where they're like, oh, this is a moderate hike. Excuse me, like this for half a mile with gravel is not moderate.
You're like, is the
And I'm like,
comparison Mount Everest?
yeah.
No, I love this example. It had me thinking about, so I recently went to Mexico City, and one of the like most famous museums in the world is actually in Mexico City, and it's the Archaeology Museum. And the majority of the signage is all in Spanish. I would say only 10% of the signage that I saw, and when I say signage, I mean like, the telling you what this artifact is kind of labeling, giving you the historical context. It was maybe 10-20% of all the signage was translated to other languages. Everything else was in English. Now, the museum did sell these kind of audio guided tours in a bunch of languages, but imagine if you didn't want to follow the whole tour. If you had glasses, you could just see the translation or learn more about just the thing you're staring at, right? You don't want the audio tour being like, and now you're going to walk over here and be like, I'm not interested in that thing yet. I'm interested in this thing. So it was such an interesting experience because my mom and I are both Spanish speakers. So we were able to read and interact with all of the content, but so many people that we were around were constantly like looking at the item and then looking at their phone. And it just was taking them out of the experience of being in this giant museum hall surrounded by ancient artifacts to be like, I don't know, it felt so, I was glad that I didn't have that disruptive experience. So I could see this being really useful where you could layer in the context while you're still looking at the object, while you're still appreciating it.
Yeah, that would be awesome to be able to do that. I think the differentiating factor here is the context aware piece. And we've seen that come up a lot with the various AI applications or AI research that we've been involved in. There's a lot of emphasis placed on using that AI to understand the context that you're in and then provide relevant information, which I think XR is a great companion to. So definitely something to think about when we're looking towards the future of how we're going to interact with AI. There's going to be that context aware piece, it seems like.
Agreed. And I think the context comes into play in my example. I want to talk about another use case, although you and I both know we could talk about travel all day long. This use case is one of my favorites that we've been talking about internally a lot with our team, which is an aerospace application. So I'll paint the picture. Imagine a maintenance crew for an aircraft. We all want to be flying on well-maintained aircraft, is using XR to not only visualize AI diagnostics, but then visualize the steps. So, for example, there are AI models and tools to detect corrosion proactively before it could be identified by a human eye. Imagine if there was an AI pair of glasses on an aircraft mechanic that was like, hey, we think we detected corrosion over here. Can you go look at it? And here, by the way, the AI identified the issue. We're also going to compare that with all the other data that we have about this aircraft and make some other recommendations to prevent further corrosion or to identify other issues that if you're seeing corrosion in this part of a plane, we tend to see that combined with this other issue that you might not catch. The kind of best part that we talk about is that this isn't taking the maintainer away from the aircraft back to their PDF documents, referring them to the handbook, that it's just keeping them in the context of where they need to solve the problem and making that data available to them in digital displays where they're still looking at everything they're doing. This is very close to what we're building with Katana. It's definitely where we're looking to go, and it's one that I'm super excited about.
I was going to say, this sounds very Katana-esque. And I guess the kind of more broad takeaway from this one is using this combination of of AI and XR to do object recognition and doing something useful or intelligent with that object recognition. It's not enough to just know, like, this is a water bottle. I want to know, what do I put in it? What is a great, like, electrolyte mix that is perfect for me that I can make? It's going that extra step. I think people can also get hung up on, like, this is a feature, it's not a product, or this is a capability, it's not a feature. But yeah, and there's so many more applications for that in pretty much anything industrial, as far as using the object recognition with AI, with hands-free workflows. Like, you could use that in really anything that has step-by-step instructions. But definitely, I think we need it probably the most in aviation and aerospace, because like you said, everyone wants to fly on a well-maintained aircraft.
And it's just one of the last places that I think you would consider taking a human out of the loop. And I think those are the best places
Yeah.
to look first to say, can we add AI to help that human? We are not trying to say, oh, you can maintain a bigger fleet with less people. We're trying to say you can maintain that fleet to a higher quality with the same amount of
Mhm.
people or whatever. I think there's this hesitancy to be like, don't bring AI into those things where we need humans. No, no, no. Agreed. Human stays in the loop. How do we help that human be more efficient?
Yeah, that's another term and another topic, is human in the loop versus human on the loop. I don't think we've discussed that here before, but human in the loop means the human is assisted by technology or AI, but is still, for the most part, doing the task. And then human on the loop means the task is pretty much completely automated and it's doing it on its own, but there's still a human watching the process to make sure, for QC, that it's being done to the right standard. And you see human on the loop, human in the loop in all sorts of different use cases, but definitely for aircraft maintenance, it's a big debate right now in air traffic control. Like, should it be a human in the loop? Should it be a human responsible for telling aircraft when to take off and when to land? Or should it be handed over to an automated system and there's just a person sitting there monitoring it for anything that human eyes would see as like a red flag? The next use case is a bit of a hard left, and that is real-time pro sports intelligence for coaches. So think like next level Moneyball. If you've seen that movie, just imagine Moneyball.
Such a
It
good
is,
movie.
but with AI. And we were talking a bit about this one beforehand, with questionable whether this will even be allowed, because I know, like, I think it was the Astros got in trouble for using just regular cameras, right? To see, I think it was like certain hand signals that signified certain plays of the opposing team. And that's not, you can also do that with just a human standing there watching, and they got in trouble for using cameras. So I don't know if you would be able to use AI smart glasses on the sidelines, but being able to analyze the data in real time coming in from your opposing team and make predictions about what plays they're going to run. And I'm using a lot of sports ball terms here, and I don't really know if I'm using them correctly. So hopefully that made sense.
Also, not a
Yeah.
sports person here, but you see all the people on the sidelines of the game and they're observing. So if they could be observing and have some assistance on, like, hey, that play has been run 3 times, the human probably detected. The play has been run 3 times, but there's been 2 different weak points that your team didn't exploit. You exploited this one out of the 3, but not these 2. There's plenty of interesting use cases there, but you're right. That might be one of the places where there is not a functional, but more of a cultural pushback to the adoption of the technology. I guess
Yeah.
if you were like a sports commentator, right? A sports newscaster, you could use it for doing your like real time analysis. But I could see a world where, it's banned from the actual field.
Yeah, I can see that. And you might be able to use it in training. We've talked a lot
That's true.
about using some of our technology for pro sports training, putting sensors on the players to be able to create kind of like a digital twin of your training sessions and then running analytics on that. Also would greatly benefit from the coach or coaches being able to see that in near real time in smart glasses. So they maintain, like, they're not looking down at a tablet, they can still see what's going on. I think that would be a really cool application and probably face less, like you said, like cultural pushback. We'll have to see how that turns out. It's the Wild West.
Yeah, one of the other ones that'll be interesting to see whether or not there's pushback, and you and I have talked about this one all the time, but not on the sports ball field, not on an aircraft maintainer, and not in travel. Just AI as a general personal assistant in a set of smart glasses that you wear in your home, in your life. So, an example I would have loved yesterday would have been opening my fridge, having a pair of smart glasses on that quickly guided me to food that meets my current nutrition goals that is in my fridge right now that needs to be eaten, that is maybe, close to being expired, or is food that I forget that I have because it's further back in the fridge. I don't know. I love that. I love these ideas of how can you use it to make your life easier. If you have them on while you're driving and you drive past somewhere and it tells you, hey, reminder, you just drove past the post office and you've been meaning to mail thing you need to drop off. You should probably turn around and do that. Or even proactively be like, do you know you're coming up on the post office? If if you can do a 5-minute detour because your next meeting doesn't start for 30 minutes, you should probably go drop that package off, that Amazon return that's been riding around in your car. So I do think there's tons of, you have to give it a lot of access to your data, but there's a potential for it to remove friction from your life. And this isn't like, I'm not like banking for Wall-E here, where we just become beings that sit on lazy boys. If you can remove friction from the menial tasks, theoretically, you'd free up your time and your mental energy and your brain to do the harder work.
I think the people that win, that's how they will use AI, and then the rest become Wall-E people.
Is it the next wave of is it the next wave of biohacking? Is that what this is?
I think another fascinating topic for another day is if there will be a divide or a fracture between people that adopt AI and bio integration with AI to those that don't. What was the example of this in the United States? Not the Puritans. Amish people.
Yeah.
Maybe will there be another instance of that? Yeah. A faction.
A protective faction of current state. So I would expect that that will occur.
Yeah. So I guess the theme kind of to those last two, and I have a concept video that I'll play that pretty much shows what you were describing, but the kind of final theme seems to be that personalization aspect. So it'll be context aware, it'll be highly personalized, and I can play that if you're just listening. I can describe what's happening, but it was very similar to what you were talking about, where the person wakes up, puts on their glasses, it gives them all of the information that they care about first thing in the morning, like the weather, the person's calendar, their health stats. It stays with you as you're getting your breakfast, identifies what food in the fridge meets your current dietary requirements, and then it has the navigation. And in this video, the person's on a bike, so it has the navigation in there, turn left, turn right, and then there's some fun stuff overlaid, which we haven't really gotten to a lot of this, I feel like, with AI yet, in a way that's not super dystopian, but there was augmented reality art in a alleyway that they bike through. The art kind of comes to life and, it's doing all this fun stuff. You go into the office, it uses facial recognition to tell you the new guy's name. You're working on a collaborative project in kind of mixed reality, something with a building, moving things around. I'm trying to remember what else happens. And then at the end, the person goes out onto their balcony and they can see kind of like they're in a valley, and there's all of these pop-up ads all over the valley. And she takes a slider and just turns them down. So it was supposed to be a promotional video, like a concept art promotional video for a product that never ended up existing. But that ad part at the end really gets people. They're like, oh, I don't like that. But there will for sure be advertisement that comes along with this in some form. No idea what that will look like, because pop-up ads in XR are so annoying. They're annoying on your computer, but it's even worse when it's obstructing your ability to see.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole other topic, but I do think that advertising in XR will look more like product placement than commercial breaks. That's my current theory.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be nuanced and a little bit, I think, more subtle. But yeah, so kind of bringing it home, how you can capitalize on this next evolution of AI and how we interact with it. And the biggest take home, I think, that rounds this all up is don't box yourself into the chat room when you're developing AI apps, wrappers, agents, etc. That's where we are right now. And we might have to build for that interface today. We're building for that today, but we have it on the roadmap. We have it in mind that we're building towards a world where AI is ubiquitous and it has access to data that we might consider taboo today. So lots of your personal data, access to your past behaviors, your calendar, all of that kind of information. Actually, now that I say that, I was at a dinner party last night and 2 women left early because their Aura rings sent notifications that it was time for them to get ready for bed. And they kind of said it. No one criticized them for listening to their Aura ring or was like, oh, that's weird. They're just like, oh yeah, I mean, if it's telling you that, you should probably wrap things up here. And head home, and it was just kind of part of the conversation. It might seem like a little bit Black Mirror or like dystopian Wall-E-esque now, but I don't know that it always will be, and that change might be faster than we think.
I like to believe in the positive side. I like the idea that there is a reminder that you can ignore that would be like, you said you wanted to go to bed by this time tonight. Maybe you should do that. Is, a good use of your personal data, right? So I would
Mhm.
hope that there's going to be plenty of that with XR and AI together too.
I mean, maybe with XR, they wouldn't have had to even talk about it because they just would have seen it pop up and you don't necessarily need to share. In this situation, it required explanation because someone looked at their phone and then was like, oh, I'm going to go home. And I think people would be like, is something wrong? Like,
Yeah.
did you get some bad news? But it's like, no, it's just my Aura ring telling me to go to bed. You can let the future happen or you can be part of building it.
Accurate.
Accurate. Okay, well, I hope this gave you some ideas for coming out on top in the AI revolution or AI evolution, depending how you look at it. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to check this video where we give a full implementation plan for integrating AI into your business.